Hey everybody, it's the Salty Pug Lord. How y'all been doing? Well, today I wanted to show you how you could get started in the Alpha 10 version of Empyrion Galactic Survival. I think this is a fantastic survival sandbox game, kind of like if EVE Online and Minecraft had a child, except it was better than either one of them alone. But if you're a first-timer, some of the game mechanics can be a little bit overly harsh in my opinion. So, I wanted to show you some settings that I would use for my first game to sort of take the edge off the obnoxious stuff and get into more of the fun parts of the game. So let's go right into it here. We're going to start a new game. It's going to be a single-player game, because I do recommend you start in single-player. I assume you want to play a survival game. If you just want to do creative, like creative mode in Minecraft, by all means, do that. But I assume you want to do a survival game, because that's sort of the big meat of this game. And we're going to call this Alpha 10 YouTube. Alright. Now, I do recommend that you start on a medium planet, and I also recommend you start on a temperate planet with a breathable atmosphere. Those things immediately will take away some of the most difficult stuff that will kill you right off. Starting on a temperate planet isn't that big a deal. You could start on a desert planet. It would make it harder to find water and also other resources like wood from plants and food from plants. But the big thing is breathable atmosphere, and I do think that a medium-sized planet is perfect for a beginner. Other than that, let's go over some more detailed settings. There's some very important stuff in here, so please don't skip over this. This is the meat of the video and the stuff that you really want to know. So first of all, I would actually go with hard start equipment, meaning you get a minimum of equipment, because it's actually fun to build your way up from nothing, and it's not actually that difficult to build your way up from nothing if you tweak the other settings. For player progression, I would go with fast. This means that you get experience points fast, and you're able to unlock things in the tech tree relatively quickly. Everything in this game is gated by unlocking it in the tech tree, and getting the resources for it yourself, usually by mining or harvesting. So you really want to be able to get through the tech tree part of it first, because the mining and harvesting part is the fun part. Degradation speed for your first game, I would put that on slow. This means your tools will wear out, but it will happen slowly, and that, in my opinion, is perfect. You can go either normal or slow on food consumption, or off if you want to. I'm going to go with normal, just because I do like having to eat about once a day. I think that's a good balance, and it keeps the game fun and interesting. Oxygen consumption, I would go with slow. Not that normal oxygen consumption is that big a deal, but it's something that for a newbie, when you're struggling with survival and food, you probably don't want your oxygen to matter. Although if you start on a planet with a breathable atmosphere, it's not going to matter that much anyway. And for temperature and radiation input, I would also put these on low. You don't want to freeze to death for no reason. That's not fun, it's not an interesting mechanic. As far as resources go, obviously we're going to pump these way up. We want rich ore per deposit. We want a lot of deposits. Another thing that I would do for your first game is turn auto miner depletion to false. You can do whatever you want with these. I don't think it makes too big a difference. For your first game, you may just want to leave them untouched. Now, as far as constructor crafting speed, this, in my opinion, is something you really want to set to fast, if not instant. Blueprint and repair speed, this is kind of whatever you want to do. I like to set this one to fast. That way your blueprints will get made quickly, which is more fun. Blueprint spawning is not something you're going to do a lot of your first time playing the game, so this setting isn't as crucial. Blueprint spawn limit, basically, as this says, this is, do you have to spawn ships and other things on a base, or can you spawn them anywhere? For your first game, you want to be able to spawn your first vehicle anywhere, so definitely put this to false. Very important setting. Block limit for certain devices. This is one of the ones I don't think really matters very much for a first playthrough, because you're probably not going to reach that limit anyway. Check mass and volume. Recently, this is a relatively new thing in Alpha 10, there has been a thing where they've started to not allow you to carry 3.5 tons worth of equipment on your person in your personal inventory, not allow you to carry 1,000 tons worth of cargo on a tiny little ship the size of a sports car. For your first game, I don't think you want this mechanic in there. It's something that only becomes fun when you're more experienced with the game and you've built your own vehicles, and building a vehicle large enough to handle all the cargo is a pleasant challenge instead of an unpleasant one. So make sure that's false. That'll be a big thing towards the early game, if that phrase made any sense. Okay, and that's everything. Go ahead, click OK. And we're going to start. I want you to know what's going to happen here if you've never seen the beginning of Empyrion. We're just going to appear in an escape pod that is crashing towards the ground. We're going to have no idea how we got there and have no idea what to do. You can use the directional keys WASD to try and steer the escape pod around, but it really doesn't make very much of a difference. If you do see something interesting, feel free to try and steer the escape pod towards it. But don't feel like you have to move the escape pod to land any particular place. Any place you land the escape pod is fine. Now off on the left I see something that looks like a little bit of wreckage over there. So I'm going to go ahead and steer a little bit towards that. I'm not going to get all the way there. That's okay. I just want to be kind of near that when I crash. And we're just going to let that crash happen. Coming down to sweet Mother Earth. Okay, here we are safely on the ground. Now, your little tablet is going to say, would you like to do the tutorial, the Emergency Robinson Protocol? I highly recommend doing at very least the first 2 parts of the Emergency Robinson Protocol, because it will lead you straight to a pre-made shelter where you can spend the night and not get eaten up by monsters coming after you while you sleep. So definitely do this. Let's go. So it says, a wise choice, Commander. First, please check your PDA by pressing F1. You can find all the necessary information for your mission here. Click on the PDA log to read the mission log, and close this window when you're done. So up here you have PDA info and PDA log. So it says we're supposed to click on PDA log to see all the things that the PDA has told us so far. This is all that the PDA has told us so far, but eventually this will fill up with text and we might have to use a scroll bar to get down to the bottom. Okay, so there's our PDA info. It tells us sort of basically what we're doing. Over here we're doing the Robinson Protocol Basic Survival, and it told us to just close the window when we're done with this part of the tutorial, so we're just going to close the window. Now what'll happen is the PDA will detect that we're ready to go to the next part of the tutorial. Yeah, there we go. So it wants to show you how to open your inventory. It says press tab. Okay, easy. So here's this character. This is the character I created for myself from the main menu. And you can see I've got some resources. Now, if we look at our little indicators, our statuses down here in the lower left, you can see there's one with a cross. That's our health. And there's one with a little fork and knife. That's our food. We also have sprinting stamina and oxygen. Well, we don't really have oxygen yet because this outfit we're wearing is our space pajamas. It does not have the capability to have a helmet or oxygen, and it also doesn't have the little shoulder light that we'll get later on when we get some actual armor with a shoulder light. So let's keep this flashlight for the moment. It'll become useless when we get some armor with a shoulder light, but for the moment it's okay. Now the first thing this tutorial wanted us to do was to eat something. In particular, it wanted us to eat this energy bar. You can see this says perish time 118, food 80. Right now we're at 140 of 500 food, so this is going to bring us up a little bit, but not very much. Also, one convenient thing is we can eat this directly from our inventory. We don't have to drag it down here to the bar, we don't have to go out, we don't have to select it. We can just go into our inventory, the food's right there, and we hold down left shift and click the right mouse button and we'll eat it. And the tutorial is saying, now we want you to use the health pack the same way that you ate that food. Just hover over the health pack and shift and right mouse button. This one will heal around 250 health, but it'll take about 20 seconds for the full effects. So look down here at this bar as I click on this, and you'll actually see that bar go up slowly. Now it's going to try and teach us about the survival tool. This is the survival tool. It wants us to put it down here in slot number 1 of our hotbar. And it says, with your survival tool in hand, you can freely start to explore your surroundings. Start by looking for some rocks and press the right mouse button, get into mining mode, and to harvest those rocks. So let's go ahead and hit escape to get out. And then let's hit number 1 to get the mining tool in our hands. So if we right mouse click with this mining tool up, it's going to give us our 3 different modes. We have our defense mode, which is not a real gun, it's more like a taser, it's pretty cruddy. We also have a salvaging mode. That allows us to sort of reclaim iron and other metals and technology like circuit boards and computers from wreckages we might find. And then we have a resource drill. This allows us to drill into the ground. It also allows us to break up mineral-rich rocks to get mineral resources like iron, copper, that kind of thing. So the mission is, we want to use the resource drill to mine 5 rocks. And you can see that over there on the right side. It says, survival tool in mining, mine and pick up 5 rocks, 0 out of 5. So let's just look around. Well, this is an interesting rock. It's got this blue stuff in it. Now because I've played this game a lot, I happen to know that this is an iron-bearing rock, but if I didn't know that, if you look down in the lower right, it says rock drill iron-bearing, hit point 60 out of 60. So if I just hold down my left mouse button to fire the drilling beam at this thing, it will slowly wear those hit points down, and eventually it will pop out and drop some iron ore on the ground. And then we'll use the F key and the crosshair to pick that up. So let's do that. So there's our iron ore. And what we have to do is hover the crosshair over it, and then, like it says at the top of the screen, press F to pick up the iron ore. We don't pick it up in 3 minutes, it vanishes. Okay, F to pick it up. Lower left it said +1 iron ore. If you look in the lower left again, down by the status bars, hit F, +1 iron ore. Very nice. Just for giggles, let's hit Tab to look at our inventory. And we can see that we now have 2 iron ore in the inventory that weren't there before. Cool. Tab again to get out. So we've only picked up 2 of our 5 rocks that we need, so let's look around for another rock. You know, I see a rock over there. Maybe tough for you to see it if you're not watching in 1080, but it's kind of a greenish rock with some red speckles in it. Interesting. If I hover the cursor over this, the crosshair, it says copper bearing. Okay, so we can get some copper from this. That's cool. Let's do it. And as I said, if you don't pick them up, they will disappear. Alright, so we got 4 out of 5. Oh, I guess that counted for all of them. Cool. Next it says it wants us to pick some plant protein or vegetables. If we need assistance, we can check the Empyronpedia in our F1 menu, but we don't actually need our Empyronpedia. I can just show you here what's going on. So I'm going to look around, and I'm going to look for any kind of plant I think might look edible. I see a couple things. I see a brown plant right there that might be good. I also see what looks like purple things, maybe little berries on that tree down there, but this one looks like it's closer, and although it's a little bit near this big dinosaur-looking thing, I think we can walk in here and pick this without him noticing us. So again, just like picking up ores, you just put F to pick it up. You see down on the lower left it says +2 plant protein. It says now we should craft our first energy bar. Open our inventory, select the survival constructor, and then we'll make an energy bar. So we'll hit Tab to open our inventory. Then we have stats, which tells us what level our character is. And then we have our survival constructor. Now, this space pajamas we're wearing is capable of making a very limited few things, just enough to eke out the barest survival. One of those things is energy bars. You can see that this says energy bar. At the very bottom of that little energy bar window, it says crafting, input items, 2 plant protein, craft time 15 seconds. So we have 2 plant proteins, which means we can click on that, and it will start to manufacture the energy bar. And when it's done, it'll pop it up here in the output. So let's just sit here and watch this. 15 seconds isn't that long. Okay, cool. So it says put it in your inventory. We'll do that. Now, one thing worth noting here is if we hover over this, we'll look at the map in just a second and go to this distress signal, but let me explain about food spoiling first. Oh, yeah. This guy was right behind us and could have smacked us if he felt like it, but he just didn't feel like it. One thing about this this landing site, this sort of verdant meadow, the first time you land here, most of the creatures are not hostile. It'll take them a day or so in order to become hostile. Anyway, energy bars and perishing. You see that says perish time 119, food 80? Food 80 means it'll give me 80 food in my little food bar at the bottom. Perish time means that in about a week, I think those are hours, basically in-game hours, not real-time hours. So in 120 in-game hours, that food will spoil, and it will become no good. So you have plenty of time to eat this, but just be aware that other things spoil much faster. For instance, let's walk over to this tree I saw that looks like it has berries on it, and I can show you how fast berries spoil. That tentacle thing is weird. You know, I do see something, though. Do you see that brown stuff right there? This brown stuff is that plant protein we saw. Let's pick this up. And now, because we have 2 plant protein, we can make another energy bar. I'm just going to let that go. I'm not going to try and look at it. I got to walk over here to the berry tree. Okay. Those are some okay-looking berries, so we can just walk up to the trunk of the tree. It says press F to pick 2 berries, so we will. There we go, we picked the berries. And now if we go into our inventory, oh, that's done crafting, we'll throw it over here. See, the berries have a perish time of 24. It only takes 1 in-game day for these berries to spoil. So instead of letting them spoil, maybe we should make berry juice. Berry juice is this stuff right here, and it's another one of these things that is very, very easy to make. That's why the little survival constructor built into your space pajamas can actually make it. In addition, do you see that it says perish time 50 and health 90? So the raw berries by themselves perish in 1 day and only give you 10 health and 15 food. But if we turn them into berry juice, it takes them 50 hours, and they give you 90 health. So this is like a ghetto health kit, until we get real health kits. So let's go ahead and make that berry juice. And this doesn't take very long to craft because we were smart and we set our construction speed settings to fast when we started the game. There we go, we got berry juice. Alright, good. We'll drag that into our inventory in a little bit. Right now I'm actually going to eat both these energy bars because I'm feeling like my food is a little low. And we'll eat another one too. I'm confident we'll be able to find some more plant protein along the way and make ourselves more energy bars. So I'm just going to eat these before they spoil. Okay, so PDA tutorial wanted us to type M to look at the map. It says there's an unknown signal around here somewhere, so let's look at these different waypoints. Here's where our drop pod hit. Here's where we are. Small wreckage, spider nest, small wreckage, spider nest, small wreckage, old farm. I am pretty sure it wants us to go to the old farm. I believe that's what the signal is. But you know what? Just to be sure, I'm going to set down a map waypoint. I'm going to put my cursor on the old farm. I'm going to right-click. And then I'm going to set this as our target. Well, let's set it as the flag. Waypoint means that it shows up not just on this world map, but also inside my in-game screen when I'm actually looking at things. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now we have a little flag right there at the old farm, and you can see now I have a yellow point old farm to walk towards. So let's just start walking. Looks like it's about 1.1 kilometers, and we will keep our eyes open for more food or other stuff on the way. And I may jump cut this in the video just to spare you guys the long walk. Just before I do that, I want to tell you that there is a reason that I'm not holding down left shift to run. The reason is that running depletes my stamina. You can see my run bar is going down. In order to get that stamina back, I have to eat. And right now I don't have a lot of food. So it's better for me not to run if I can help it, and instead to just walk it, even though it's going to take a little longer. If you look at the upper right corner, you can see there's a little icon up by my map that shows a sun with a down arrow and 3:56. That means that there's 3 hours and 55 in-game minutes until the sun goes down. We've got 4 hours, we've got tons of time to get to this farm. It's only about 750 meters away. We're going to make it no problem. There's no need to run and deplete food. And speaking of food, here is some more of those plant protein plants, so we'll pick them up. And I will tell my survival constructor to make an energy bar for me, and just let that go. I don't need to actually watch it go. We'll keep walking towards the farm. So we're getting pretty close to the old farm. You can see it in the distance there, about 324 meters. And here is some more food, just lying on the ground waiting for me to pick it up. Great. And we've encountered something called a small wreckage, and I thought this would be a good time to give a quick lesson. Oh, I see food. I see food! I thought this would be a good time to give a quick lesson in how to use the salvaging apparatus inside your survival tool. So if we right-click, and we choose the lower left part, which is salvage, we can go up to this small wreckage and just start zapping these big steel blocks and get ourselves some steel plates, which we can then use to construct other things, like steel blocks for our own base, or maybe a motorbike to get around faster, all sorts of amazing things. But before we start zapping this wreckage, we should look through the wreckage and see if it looks like there's a cargo box in here somewhere. Most of the time, these guys will have a cargo box. You know, this looks like it. Let me get my flashlight. Yeah. That black thing right there is the cargo box. So let's go up to that and hit F to look inside it. Not much, just an optical fiber. Oh well. I guess that's something that we won't have to spend silicon ore to create, since silicon is what creates optical fibers. Alright, well, let's get to salvage in here. We'll use the salvage mode, and then we'll just start zapping these blocks. And this will take a while, but believe me, having about 100 steel plates in your inventory is totally worth it. These steel plates will allow us to make some stuff that is very difficult to make any other way, including that motorbike I mentioned that'll make our exploration so much faster, so much easier, so much more convenient, and so much more fun. Okay, I've salvaged all but the biggest piece of this, so let's see how many steel plates I have in my inventory. 27. Nah, we're gonna need a little more. Alright, good. So we've got all that, we got that whole wreck out, and now we're just gonna keep walking the last little bit to the old farm. And I see food plants over here. The Terminator just hit them and just put them in shadow, but we'll go ahead and grab them anyway. Now, I know that this first video has been a little slow, and I do apologize for the slowness, but this is an intentional choice on the game's part to give you some time to get used to the controls and get used to some other things about the game that are a little different from other games, so don't be discouraged and don't think this game isn't fun just because the first half an hour, the tutorial section, is walking simulator. Things are going to get a lot more fun from here on out. We just have to make it to this shelter so we can spend the night without getting our face eaten by whatever alien stuff is around here. Ooh. I happen to know that kind of bug. They're very dangerous and very scary to someone like me with no armor and no weapons. So I am not going to engage that guy. I am going to go look around for the door to get inside here. So it says press F to open the door. I do. F again to close it. And I've got a shelter to protect me from weather and from bugs. I've got a bed here that will allow me to sleep until the morning. And it looks like I've even got a storage locker to store stuff in, so I don't have to keep it all on my person all the time, which is good because if it's 6,000 kilograms of copper ore, I probably don't want to carry that all with me everywhere. So we will check out the personal cargo box in the next episode. But for the moment, we are just going to sleep through the night. And I hope that you are staying salty, my friends. I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.